Good morning, Year 2. Our fact of the day for math today is 4 times 5 equals 20, or 4 sets of 5 are 20. So there is the picture showing 4 sets of 5, and underneath we've got the picture showing 5 sets of 4 equals 20. Remember to do a proper 4. So the division facts, I've got an array there. So I want you to draw the array for the fact of the day in your book. So use like a little circle, or you could just use a dot of felt tip pen in the squares to make an array that shows 5 times 4, because that also helps you work out the division. So if you've got 20 and you're dividing it into 4s, let's see how many 4s we've got. There's 1 4, 2 4s, 3 4s, 4 4s, 5 4s. So 20 divided into 4s is 5. 20 divided into 5s, so there's 1 5, 2 5s, 3 5s, 4 5s equals 4. Let's see if we can make a bit bigger. Now I like it when it's 5s because you can pretend it's 50p's. So what would 4 times 50 be? 4 50s. Now remember the 0 rule. You've already got 20. You put a 0, you've got 200. Now if it was 50p's, if you had 4 50p's, that would make £2, because remember that's the same as 200 pennies. What about if we had 5 times 40? That would also be 200. And if we had 40 times 5, that would make 200. Now we've been trying to make a bigger one, haven't we? Let's have 14 times 5. Now remember, to do these ones, we're partitioning it. So we're partitioning 14 into a 10 and a 4, which means we need to work out 10 times 5 and 4 times 5. And then once you've got those two facts, that one would be 50, and we know 4 5s are 20. You add them together, and that gives you that answer. I'm not going to tell you that one. I'm going to let you add those together. So you need to add 50 and 20. Let's do an inverse division. Let's do 200 divided by 50 equals 4. There are 4 50s in 200. Let's do 200 divided by 4 equals 50s, and you can do the same thing with the 40s. So there's 5 40s. I've just got room for one more, and 45s. So can you now write those neatly into your book? Remember to put one digit in one square. Our TLP for today is, can I compare, estimate and measure capacity? Now capacity means how much something can contain. So it might be liquid, it might be something else. Today we're looking at liquids. So we measure capacity using litres and millilitres. And we spell, in England, we spell litres with an R-E, and millilitres. You often see it written the American way with an ER, but it's R-E. So 1,000 millilitres, and you can write this one down as well, equals 1 litre. So 1,000 millilitres is 1 litre. Just like when we were doing yesterday, 1,000 grams is 1 kilogram. So those ones are quite easy to remember. Now, if we're comparing capacities, you can do that just by looking with your eyes. So if we're using our crocodile, remember the crocodile likes to have the most. So I think there's more liquid would fit in there than would fit in there. Though sometimes it's hard comparing capacity because containers are different shapes, and that can make a huge difference to how much fits in them. If we're actually measuring capacity, we use a measuring jug. You might have one of these at home, or at school we have measuring cylinders. If you look at this jug, you can see that's 1,000 millilitres up the top, which is the same as 1 litre. And this one goes up in hundreds on this side and 50s on this side. There's another type of jug. Now this one goes up to 500, so that's half a litre, 500 millilitres. And you can work out what the little lines mean. So this one goes up in tens, because that would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. But it's not always tens, sometimes it's 20s. In your pack, you've got a sheet that looks like this, but without the pictures on it. I probably left just one picture on. You're going to choose some containers from around your house, empty containers. So it might be a mug, it might be an egg cup. So find some different containers and you're going to estimate how many millilitres of water will fill them. So it doesn't have to be something that you normally fill with liquid, as long as you can. Like a lunchbox is a really good one to use because that is waterproof. So how many millilitres of liquid do you think will fill your lunchbox? And then you're going to write down your estimates first, just like we did last time. You're going to compare them and write down your estimates. And then if you've got a measuring jug at home, ask your mum or dad if you've got one, then you're going to use that to measure the liquid. So definitely ask for help with this one. Don't go sloshing around filling up huge things with water without permission. And maybe the adults in your house can help you make some sensible choices about what you use and what you compare. If you haven't got a measuring jug at all, I'm going to put a link into a game, an online game where you can read different measurements, or you can write down mine, because I'm going to just make a video now where I choose some things in the classroom, I estimate, and then I measure. So you can do that if you haven't got a measuring jug at home. The challenge is to then work out the difference between your estimate. And remember, use estimates that are multiples of 10 that end in zeros. You could even do multiples of 100. So you could estimate 100, 200, 300. Now I've measured one of these and it's actually 200. So the difference between my estimate and the real measurement was 100. I was 100 out. I've found 4 different containers, and so my first job is to estimate which one I think is going to contain the most, which is going to have the biggest capacity, and which is going to have the smallest capacity. So I think I'm going to swap these. I think that one's got the biggest. Now bowls are really hard because it's a completely different shape to that. I think I might leave the bowl there. This is going to be the least, I think. These two I am really not sure about. I think I'll do it that way around. So now I've got to guess how many millilitres or litres I think will go in each one. So I think I've got a memory of this maybe being around 200. So that's my estimate for that, 200 millilitres. Now if that's 200 and I've put them in that order, that's got to be less. So I'm going to say that one's 150. I'm using multiples of 10 because that's what the measuring jugs normally measure in. This one, let's say 100. And the big one is really hard because you could think if I said that's 200, I think at least 2 of those will go in there. I'm going to say 600. So now I've made my estimates, I need to get measuring cylinders or measuring jugs to find out if I was close, if I was correct. I've got 2 different measuring jugs. So this is the first one. I really like this one because it goes up in hundreds of millilitres. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, and then 1,000 millilitres at the top, which is 1 litre. So I might write that at the top. A bit trickier is working out what these little lines are in between. I think they're 20s, so that's 20, 40, 60, 80 and 100. So each little line there is worth 20. Now this one's useful for smaller amounts. This one goes up to half a litre. So 500 millilitres is half a litre. It's half of a litre. And this one goes up in 50s. 50, then 100, then 150. So the little lines are 10s. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I'm going to use those to help me measure how much water is in each container. Now what I need to do now is fill them all up carefully. And when I say fill them up, it doesn't mean right to the brim. When we're doing this in class, I make a very strong point of saying a full glass is about there. You don't fill your glass up to the very top when you're getting a drink, do you? Because it spills everywhere. So I'm going to now go and fill these up. I've now filled them up and I want to change some of my estimates. I think my estimates are a bit rubbish because now I've got the measuring jug. Now I can actually see how much the different amounts are. I'm not very happy with some of my choices. I'm happier with the lower ones, but if I put the measuring jug next to that, and that's 1,000, and I said that's 600. Ooh, and that's quite wide. I want to change that to 1,000. Now, I'm not really cheating because I haven't measured it, I promise. I'm going to have to get some special stuff to clean the table. I'm going to change that to 1,000. And 200, that looks quite low for that one, doesn't it? Let's change that one to 300. So I've just tried to make my estimates a bit more sensible because I wasn't happy with them. Now, to measure it, I'm going to need one of these so I don't make a terrible mess. And we'll start off with the smallest one. So I'm going to put that there. Then I'm going to pour in the water and see how far it goes up to. You've got to wait for it to all drain through. Now, I'm not sure how clearly you can see on there, but if I draw the line, it's almost exactly on 300 millilitres. Oh dear. My estimating is not very good, is it? So that one was 300 millilitres. I'm going to write an E by that because that was an estimate. Now I'm going to try the bowl. This is going to be very tricky. We don't want a flood. Oh, I have to go on the blooper tape if there's a flood. As you can see, I've already made a bit of a flood on the table. Makes a nice noise. So that one, oh my goodness, how bad am I at estimating? That one is 500, but it goes up to the one above. So I think that's 520. So 520 millilitres. Remember, that was just the very rubbish estimate. Remember, I am emptying it each time. I'm not just adding water on the top of the water that's already there. Let's move that a bit back. So now this was one I wasn't sure whether that was going to be more or less than the green bowl. I think it might be less. Yeah, they are in the wrong order. Couldn't even get the order right. Let me have a look. It's under 500, so it's 480. Really hard writing on there. So 480 millilitres. Right, this is going to be the hardest one of all. It's going to be the hardest one not to make a flood, because if it's more than 1 litre, I'm going to have to stop pouring, empty it, and then add it on. So let's see how close to the top it goes. 100, 200, 300. Whoa. There's a bit of a delay in the funnel. Let's keep going. Nearly 1,000. Right, that's 1 litre, and now I've got to empty it and add on some more. Right, let's do the other half. So it's already at 1 litre, so it's already at 1,000. It's hard to see that one. Let me see. It's over 500. 520, 540, 560. So it's 1,560 millilitres, or you could say 1.5 litres. So you could say 1.5 litres. So I'm not very good at estimating capacity. That's what I found out from that. So hopefully if you're watching this bit first, when you make your own estimates, You might learn from my mistakes and yours might be a bit better. Mainly I was saying far too little, wasn't I? I was getting the amount wrong by a little. Even this one over here, I was 200 wrong by that one. And this one I was 180 out. This one I said 1,000, so I was 560 millilitres wrong. I think I need to practice a bit more. Mr. Stilwell had the clever idea of colouring the water so you can see it much more easily. Now I'm not going to measure everything again, but I'm going to pour the coloured water into the measuring jug, and then you'll be able to see, hopefully more clearly as it goes up, how you can read it on the scale. Let's see if I can measure 100. 100, so that's about 100 millilitres. Let's see if I can get to 300 this time. Nearly, that's just below 300, so that might be 280, because remember the other lines actually go up in 20. So if I got to 500, whoop, so 500 is half a litre. It's half a litre, or 0.5 of a litre. Let's go right up to the top if we've got enough. That's 800 millilitres. Whoops, and that is 1 litre, which is 1,000 millilitres.